damp wood smells sweeter just before dawn. The humidity is a physical weight, a wet blanket that never truly lifts, even in the coolest hour of the night. I peel my cheek from the woven rattan mat. The pattern of the weave is stamped into my skin, a grid of numbness against the bone. My eyes open to the dark, but it is not a silent dark. Below me, through the gaps in the split bamboo flooring, the pigs are shifting in the mud. Their heavy, wet grunts vibrate up through the wooden stilts that hold our house above the earth. I lie still for a moment, listening to the breathing of the house. The roof is thatched palm, brittle and dry, and it rustles with the movement of a gecko hunting, specifically for the mosquitoes that plague us. The air inside is thick with the lingering scent of wood smoke from the night before. We keep the smudge fires burning low to ward off the insects, and the smoke clings to everything. It is in the thatch, in the bamboo walls, and deep in the cotton of the unwashed cloth bunched under my head. I sit up. The movement causes the bamboo slats beneath me to groan. Beside me, my wife and our youngest child are still asleep, darker shapes against the gray light filtering through the open doorway. There are no windows here, only the door and the gaps in the weave of the walls. I move slowly. Every motion in a house built on stilts transfers to everyone else inside. I crawl to the edge of the sleeping platform. My feet find the floor, the bamboo polished smooth by years of bare soles. I stand and stretch, my spine cracking. I am 30 years old, but the dampness of the river valley has already settled into my joints. My knees ache with a dull, familiar throb. I reach for my sandpot, hanging from a wooden peg, driven into the central support post. The cloth is cotton, dyed a dull brownish gray with tree bark and mud. It is stiff with dried sweat and river clay. I do not wash it every day. The fabric would rot too quickly. I wrap the long rectangular cloth around my waist. This is the first labor of the day, securing the garment that will hold me together. I pull the fabric tight, twisting the excess material into a thick coil at my stomach. I pull this tail down between my legs and tuck it firmly into the waistband at the small of my back. This creates the Chong K Ben style, turning the skirt into a pair of short, loose trousers. It allows my legs to move freely in the mud. If I left it as a skirt, the wet earth would drag me down. I step out onto the small veranda. The sky to the east, over the great Temple Mountains, is turning the color of a bruised plum. The air is cooler here, but only slightly. I walk to the large glazed jar kept by the door. It is a heavy vessel, brown and green, fired in the kilns to the north. I dip a coconut shell, ladle into the water. It is cool. I take a mouthful, swishing it through my teeth, and spit it over the railing into the yard below. The pigs squeal, thinking it is food. I pick up a small neem twig from a bundle I keep on the railing. I chew the end until the fibers fray into a coarse brush, releasing a sharp, bitter sap. I scrub my teeth with the wood, the bitterness waking up my tongue. I splash water on my face, scrubbing the sleep from my eyes. The water smells of the clay jar, earthy and grounding. Inside, the sounds of waking begin. My wife is up. I hear the scratch of flint and steel, then the soft breath of her blowing on the embers in the clay hearth box. The smell of new smoke hits me, acrid and sharp. I go back inside. The fire is small, fed by twigs and dried dung. It illuminates the small space. In the corner sits our shrine, a small wooden shelf holding a rough stone from the river, and a withered garland of jasmine flowers. I bow briefly, pressing my palms together. I do not pray for wealth. I pray that the canal walls hold. I pray that the supervisor is in a good temper. I pray that the heat does not kill me today. Breakfast is simple. It is always simple. My wife hands me a bowl made of coconut shell. Inside is a scoop of cold rice left over from the evening meal. It is sticky and clumped together. On top, she places a dollop of gray paste. This is the lifeblood of our people. It is fermented fish, pounded with salt and left to rot in jars until it turns into a savory, pungent cheese. The smell is aggressive. It smells of the river bottom and salt. I mix the paste into the rice with my fingers. I squat near the door to eat. The salty pungency of the fish wakes up my jaw. The rice is heavy in the stomach, a necessary ballast for the work ahead. I eat quickly. There is no time to savor. The sun is crowning the horizon, and the great gongs of the temples will soon sound. I finish the rice and drink another ladle of water. I grab my tool from the corner. It is a hoe, the handle made of polished hardwood, the head tipped with a precious casing of iron. The iron is rusted and chipped, but it is sharp enough to slice through mud. I also take a woven rattan basket, strapping it across my back. I descend the ladder. The rungs are polished and slippery with morning dew. My feet touch the ground. It is packed earth, hard as stone in the dry season. But now, in the wet season, it is a slick skin of grease over mud. I walk out of the family compound. The village is waking up. Smoke rises from every thatched roof, creating a low-hanging haze that mixes with the mist. I join the stream of men walking toward the main road. We are all dressed the same, in soiled cotton sampots, our chests bare and brown, our skin mapped with the scars of labor and insect bites. The road is raised, built up on an embankment to stay above the floodwaters. We walk on the high ground. To my left and right, the rice paddies are sheets of water reflecting the brightening sky. They are emerald green, where the young shoots are piercing the surface. The intricate grid of the city is visible here. Everything in Angkor is a line. The roads, the canals, the dikes. We have imposed geometry on the jungle. We pass a small neighborhood temple. It is built of laterite, a red, porous stone that looks like solidified sponge. A Brahmin priest is pouring water over linga stone. He chants low and rhythmic. I do not stop, but I touch my hand to my forehead. The gods are everywhere here. They live in the stone, in the water, and in the king who commands the water. The noise of the city grows as we approach the Canal District. It is not the roar of a machine, but the roar of biology. Thousands of voices, the barking of dogs, the lowing of cattle, and above it all, the sound of water. Water falling from weirs, water rushing through sluice gates, water being lifted by bamboo scoops. I reach my work site. It is a secondary canal, a feeder line that connects the massive East Barre Reservoir to the rice fields in the southern district. The canal is about 10 meters wide. The water is low right now, controlled by the upstream gates to allow us to work. This reveals the enemy, silt. The bottom of the canal is a thick black sludge. It is the soil washed down from the Kilin Hills, carrying the fertility of the mountains, but it chokes the flow. If we do not remove it, the water will stall, the rice will die, and the city will starve. The overseer is already there. He stands on the bank, wearing a white shirt, a luxury that marks his status. He holds a bamboo cane, tapping it against his leg. He does not shout. He does not need to. We know our places. I slide down the steep bank. The mud seizes my ankles immediately. It is cool, almost cold, and it sucks at my skin with a vacuum pressure. It smells of rotting vegetation, fish excrement, and old earth. It is a smell so thick you can taste it on the back of your throat. I wade out to the center. The sludge comes up to my knees. I take the hoe from my shoulder. The wood of the handle is smooth, worn by the friction of my palms over 1,000 mornings, just like this one. The work begins without a signal. It is a rhythm we all know. I swing the hoe. The iron tip bites into the wet clay with a wet thwack. I pull back, dragging a heavy mound of black mud toward me. I do this 3 times, piling the sludge into a heap. Then I take the basket from my back and set it on the surface of the mud. It floats for a second before sinking. I use my hands to scoop the pile into the basket. The mud is full of surprises. Sometimes smooth clay, sometimes sharp stones, sometimes the buried shell of a freshwater snail that slices the finger like a knife. I feel a sharp nip on my calf, a leech. I ignore it. Stopping to pull it off now would break the rhythm. I will burn it off later with a coal from the fire. When the basket is full, it weighs as much as a small child. I hoist it onto my shoulder. The wet mud oozes through the wicker weave. trickling cold slime down my naked back. I trudge toward the bank. This is the hardest part. Walking in knee-deep mud while carrying weight requires a specific gait. You cannot lift your foot straight up. The suction is too strong. You have to twist your heel, breaking the seal, then slide the foot forward. I reach the bank. A chain of men stands there. I pass my basket to the man above me. He takes it, grunting with the weight, and passes it to the man on the crest of the dike. They dump the silt onto the embankment, building the walls higher, reinforcing the road. The mud that choked the water now supports the traveler. It is the cycle of the empire. I take my empty basket back. I turn around. I wade back to my spot. I swing the hoe. The sun begins to clear the tree line. The heat arrives not as a gradual warmth, but as a sudden hammer blow. The humidity, which was a mist in the morning, turns into steam. The sweat starts instantly. It rolls down my forehead, stinging my eyes. I cannot wipe it away because my hands are covered in muck. I blink rapidly, trying to clear my vision. My shoulders burn. The repetitive motion of the hoe swing, lift, strike, pull tightens the muscles in the lower back until they feel like twisted ropes. The mud offers resistance every time. It does not want to move. It wants to stay where it has settled. We are fighting the earth itself. Around me, there are 50 other men. We do not speak. Breath is too precious to waste on words. The only sounds are the splash of hose, the sucking sound of feet pulling out of clay, and the heavy, wet thud of mud landing in baskets. Occasionally, a boat passes on the main canal, separated from us by a narrow strip of land. It is a long dugout canoe, carrying goods to the market. I see baskets of dried fish, bundles of sugar palm, and stacks of red pottery. The rower stands at the stern, poling effortlessly. He looks down at us in the mud. I do not look back. His labor is the water. Mine is the earth beneath it. An hour passes, then two. The sun is higher now, reflecting off the shallow water in the canal, blinding us with glare. The mud begins to warm up. The smell intensifies. It changes from the smell of wet earth to the smell of fermentation. Gas bubbles rise to the surface, released by our digging, smelling of sulfur. I strike something hard. The shock vibrates up the hoe handle into my elbows. I stop and probe with my foot. It is a piece of sandstone, likely fallen from a retaining wall years ago. It is too heavy for the basket. I call out to the man beside me. Help, I say. My voice is croaky, unused for hours. He nods. We both dig our hands into the slime, feeling for the edges of the stone. We find a grip. 1, 2, 3, I count. We heave. The suction holds the stone fast for a second, then releases with a loud pop. We stagger back, holding the rock between us. We waddle to the bank and heave it up. It rolls into the tall grass. I wipe my hands on my sandpot, adding another layer of gray to the fabric. I check my leg. The leech is fat now, gorged on my blood. It hangs like a ripe fruit. I slap it hard, and it falls off, leaving a small stream of blood mixing with the mud on my shin. The salt from the water will sting it later. The overseer blows a whistle made of horn. It is a high, piercing shriek. It is the signal for the mid-morning water break. We do not stop working immediately. We finish the load we are carrying. To stop with a half-full basket is bad luck. I wade to the bank and climb up to the dry ground. My legs feel incredibly light, freed from the drag of the mud. I walk to the communal water jar, kept under the shade of a sugar palm tree. There is a ladle. I drink greedily. The water is warm now, but it is wet. I look out over the landscape. From the top of the embankment, I can see the spires of the central temple complex in the distance. They are gold and stone, rising out of the green canopy like mountains. They are beautiful. They are where the king lives. They are where the gods live. I look down at my legs. They are caked in black slime. My toenails are impacted with grit. My hands are claws of mud. I am the reason those towers can stand. Without this canal, there is no rice. Without rice, there are no armies, no builders, no priests. The king builds the temples to honor the gods, but we dredge the mud to feed the king. I sit on the grass for a moment. The ants are busy here, marching in lines as straight as our roads. I watch them carry burdens 3 times their size. The whistle blows again. The break is over. I stand up. The mud on my legs has already begun to dry, tightening the skin, turning gray and cracking like a drought-stricken field. I pick up my basket. I pick up my hoe. I look at the black water. I slide back down the bank. The cool mud welcomes me back. I find my rhythm. Lift, strike, pull. The sun climbs toward its zenith. The shadows disappear. The world becomes nothing but light and heat, and the heavy, wet resistance of the earth. This is the morning. We have moved perhaps 10 feet of silt. There are miles left to go. I focus on the hoe. I focus on the splash. I do not think of the afternoon. I think only of the next basket. The work creates a trance. The mind detaches from the pain in the shoulders and the stinging of the insect bites. I become a machine of muscle and bone. I notice the texture of the silt changing. We are getting deeper. The mud here is older, denser. It is blue-gray, untouched for perhaps a season or 2. I find a shard of pottery in the mud, a piece of a broken bowl. I run my thumb over the green glaze. Someone ate from this, dropped it. and it was washed here by the rains. Now I hold it. I toss it into the basket with the mud. It will become part of the road. A shadow falls over me. I look up, squinting against the sun. An elephant is walking along the embankment path. It is a working beast, not a ceremonial one. It drags a massive teak log, chained to a harness around its chest. The mahout sits on its neck, his knees tucked behind the animal's ears. The elephant's skin is dusted with red earth, its trunk swaying. It places its feet with impossible delicacy, silent despite the weight. The elephant passes. The ground stops trembling. I look at the water swirling around my knees. It is brown and opaque, but as I dig, I see the flow increase. A small eddy forms where I have cleared a blockage. The water moves faster. It swirls, breathing, rushing toward the rice fields. Satisfaction is a small, quiet thing. It is not a cheer. It is seeing the water move. I wipe sweat from my upper lip with my forearm. My skin feels gritty. I taste salt. I swing the hoe. The heat is now a physical weight, pressing down on the top of my head. The air shimmers above the canal. The birds have gone silent, hiding in the shade. Only the insects remain, their buzzing rising and falling like a saw. I am hungry again. The rice and fish paste have long since burned away. My stomach tightens, but I ignore it. Hunger is just another sensation, like the heat, like the mud. I look at the man next to me. He is older, perhaps 40. His skin is leather, loose around the muscle. He does not look at me. He just digs. He is a mirror of my future. If the fever doesn't take me, if the wars don't take me, I will be him, digging the same mud, holding back the same forest, feeding the same city. I lift the basket. The mud runs down my back. I climb the bank. The 12th century sun is a furnace, and the day is not yet half over. The sun has ceased to be a celestial body and has become a physical weight pressing down upon the back of my neck. It is the hour when shadows vanish, retreating entirely beneath the soles of our feet, leaving us exposed on the vast, flat expanse of the floodplain. The water in the canal, brown and opaque as tea brewed from river clay, reflects the glare with a blinding intensity that makes the eyes water. I stand waist deep in the soup of the canal. This is not the clean, flowing water of the mountain streams, nor the holy water laved over the linga in the stone temples. This is the working water of Yashatarapura. It is thick with the runoff of the city, the silt of the deforestation upstream, and the endless decay of the jungle. My tool is a heavy hoe, the head forged from iron that is pitted and black, shaped like a wide, flat tongue. The handle is a shaft of polished hardwood, slick now with the mixture of sweat and river mud that coats my palms. My grip must be absolute. If the wood slips, the iron edge could slice into my shin or foot. A wound that in this water would rot within days, turning the flesh green and ending a man's utility to the overseer. I drive the iron into the canal bed. The sensation is one of thick, resisting suction. The mud here is ancient and compacted. It does not want to move. I have to put the entirety of my weight onto the handle, leveraging my shoulder, feeling the wood groan against the resistance. There is a distinct sound as the suction breaks, a wet, guttural gasp from the earth as I pry a clump of heavy, black silt free from the bottom. This is the labor of the empire. The stone towers of the great temples may reach for the heavens, mimicking Mount Meru, but they float upon this mud. If we do not clear the silt, the canals choke. If the canals choke, the berries dry. If the berries dry, the rice fails. If the rice fails, the kings cannot feed the armies or the builders. I am a single muscle fiber in the great body of the state, contracting and releasing over and over again. Beside me, Vithara works with the rhythm of a machine. He is older. His skin turned the color of dark walnut by 40 years of sun. He does not waste energy on anger or haste. He scoops, lifts, and deposits the sludge into the rattan basket held by the carrier waiting on the bank. The sound of the mud slapping into the basket is the metronome of our existence. A wet thud, then another, then another. The carrier, a boy of perhaps 12 years named Aaron, struggles under the load. He wears only a thin strip of cloth around his hips. The basket is slung from a yoke across his shoulders, and when Vithara drops the heavy load of wet earth into it, I see the boy's knees buckle slightly. He stabilizes himself, his toes gripping the slippery laterite stones that line the canal bank, and trudges up the slope to dump the spoil onto the levee. This spoil will be packed down to heighten the banks, a never-ending cycle of moving earth from the bottom to the top. The heat is tangible. It carries a smell. It smells of baking laterite, that metallic, rusty scent of the red stone that forms the skeleton of the city. It smells of stagnant water and the rotting vegetation trapped within it. There is no wind. The air is still and heavy, sitting in the lungs like warm cotton. My skin itches. The canal water is full of life that is invisible to the eye, but felt by the flesh. Tiny mites, microscopic worms, the larvae of biting flies. I have sores on my calves that have refused to close for 3 moons, rimmed in white and stinging sharply. Whenever the salty sweat runs down my legs to meet them, we are all painted in the same gray-black uniform of mud. It dries on our arms in cracking scales, only to be wetted again by the splash of the work. The overseer stands on the bank, under the shade of a parasol held by his own servant. He is a man of low rank within the temple bureaucracy, but to us, he is a god of fortune and ruin. He wears a white sampot, impossibly clean against the backdrop of our filth, and holds a rattan cane. He does not shout often. He simply points. If a man slows, the cane points to him. If the line of dredging is not straight, the cane points to the error. We fear the cane, but we fear the loss of the rice ration more. A signal comes. It is not a bell, but the sound of a wooden clapper struck 3 times. The rhythm breaks. The tension in my shoulders releases, causing a sudden rush of blood and a tremble in my hands. It is the midday meal. We do not leave the canal site. To walk back to the village would waste precious energy and time. Instead, we wade toward the bank, our legs heavy as we fight the water that clings to our movements. Climbing out of the canal is an indignity. The wet sarong clings to the thighs, heavy with water, and the mud sucks at our feet until we reach the dry grass of the embankment. There is a cluster of sugar palm trees 50 paces from the water, their jagged fronds offering a dappled, imperfect shade. This is our sanctuary. We collapse into the shade, careful not to sit on the nests of red ants that patrol the roots. The meal is communal in nature, but individual in portion. We each carry a small woven box made of palm strips. Inside is the fuel of the Khmer builder, rice. It is cold now, cooked before dawn by the women of our household. It has clumped together into a dense, sticky mass. I open my container. The smell of the rice is faint, sweet, and starchy. But the true sustenance comes from the accompaniments. Wrapped in a banana leaf is a portion of prahok. This is the heart of our diet, the flavor of our culture. It is fish, crushed and fermented for months until it becomes a gray, pungent paste. To a stranger, the smell might be offensive, sharp with the aroma of decay and strong salt. To me, it smells of survival. It smells of the Great Lake, the Tonal Sap, where the fish are so plentiful in the wet season that they can be scooped up in baskets. I take a ball of rice in my right hand, compressing it with my fingers. I dip it into the gray paste. The taste is explosive. Salt, intense umami, and the sour funk of fermentation. It shocks the mouth, waking the senses that have been dulled by the monotony of the digging. Along with the prahok, there are a few small, dried fish, their bodies twisted and hard as wood. We chew them entirely, bones, heads, and all. The calcium creates a grit in the teeth, but we need the strength it provides. There is also a handful of morning glory, the hollow-stemmed water spinach foraged from the edges of the very canal we are dredging. It is wilted now, but provides a crunch and a grassy bitterness that cuts through the intense salt of the fish paste. We eat in silence for the first few minutes. The hunger is a hollow ache that must be filled before words can be spoken. The only sounds are the buzzing of flies, great shimmering clouds of them drawn by the prahak, and the sound of chewing. We wave the flies away lazily with one hand while eating with the other. A motion so habitual we do not even notice we are doing it. As the stomach fills, the tension in the group lowers. I lean back against the rough trunk of the palm tree. Vithara is wiping his mouth with the back of his hand. The water is low this year, Vithara says. His voice is gravel, scratched by dust. The Great Lake pushes back, but the flow is weak. We will be digging deeper by next month. If we dig deeper, we hit the clay, I reply, picking a fish bone from my teeth. The clay breaks the hose. Then we break the hose, Vithara shrugs. Better the hoe than the back. Arun, the boy, is lying flat on his back, his chest heaving. He has finished his rice too quickly, and now stares up at the palm fronds. He is too young for this weight, but his father owes a debt to the temple foundation, and the boy is the payment. Did you hear the drums this morning? Arun asks, not turning his head. From the direction of the Bayon. Procession, I say. The Brahmins are blessing the new gate. I saw the elephants passing the perimeter road 2 days ago. Tusks capped in gold. Gold, Arun whispers, rolling the word around his mouth like a sweet fruit. Do not think of the gold, Vithara snaps, though his tone is not unkind. Gold is for the gods and the king. Mud is for us. Think of the mud. If you think of the gold, the mud becomes heavier. We fall silent again. The wisdom of the laborer is to live entirely within the moment of the task. To dream is to invite suffering. From a pouch at his waist, Vithara produces the true respite of the midday. The beetle. He takes a green beetle leaf, spreads a thin layer of white lime paste upon it, lime made from crushed, burned shells, and places a slice of the areca nut inside. He folds the leaf into a neat, triangular packet and pops it into his mouth. He offers the pouch to me. I accept gratefully. The preparation is a ritual. The tactile sensation of the smooth leaf, the chalky lime, the hard nut. I place the quid between my cheek and gum and bite down. Almost immediately, the chemistry begins. The lime releases the alkaloids in the nut. A warming sensation floods my mouth, followed by a rush of saliva. I spit the first accumulation of juice onto the dust. It is a brilliant, shocking red, like fresh blood. The stimulant hits my blood stream a moment later. It is a buzz, a tightening of the scalp, a slight acceleration of the heart that chases away the fatigue in my muscles. The hunger pangs vanish completely. The world sharpens. The throbbing in my blistered hands dulls into a distant background noise. We sit there, a circle of men with red-stained lips, chewing rhythmically. It is a mild intoxication, just enough to make the afternoon bearable. I look out past the shade of the palms. The heat haze ripples above the ground, making the distant city walls dance. I can hear the sounds of the metropolis now that my own splashing has stopped. It is a roar, low and constant, the sound of 200,000 souls. I hear the rhythmic thump, thump, thump of rice pounders in the nearby village. I hear the screech of wooden wheels on stone as ox carts haul sandstone blocks toward the construction sites. Somewhere, a bronze gong resonates from a temple courtyard, a deep, shivering hum that travels for miles through the humid air. The landscape is entirely engineered. Nothing here is wild. The horizon is broken by the straight lines of the dikes, the geometric perfection of the reservoirs. Even the trees are planted in rows. We are living in a machine made of earth and water, designed to serve the gods. I look at the canal we are clearing. It stretches straight as an arrow toward the east. It is one vein in the body of the empire, and I am the clot remover. A shadow falls over us. It is the servant of the overseer. He does not speak. He simply taps the wooden clapper once. The sound is sharp, cutting through the betel nut haze. The break is over. The physical sensation of standing up is agony. The muscles have cooled and stiffened during the rest. The back protests with a sharp spike of pain in the lumbar region. The feet, which had dried, are now tender. We move slowly, like old men, gathering the empty rice baskets and the tools. Walking back to the canal bank, the sun hits us again. It is slightly past its zenith now, but no less ferocious. It strikes the side of the face, burning the cheek. The glare off the water is blinding. I slide back down the bank. The water is warm, unrefreshing. The mud at the bottom squelches around my ankles, reasserting its grip. I find my spot, the exact footprint where I left off. The water level has not changed. The canal mocks us with its stillness. Vithara spits a stream of red beetle juice into the brown water, where it swirls and dissolves. He grips his hoe. I grip mine. 200 scoops before we pause to sharpen, Vithara says quietly. 200, I agree. I lift the hoe. The wet wood is slippery. I adjust my grip, digging my fingernails into the grain. I swing. The iron strikes the water, vanishing into the murk, seeking the bottom. I feel the impact travel up my arms. I pull. The suction holds. I pull harder. The work resumes. The afternoon stretches out before us, not in hours, but in baskets. We do not count time by the movement of the sun, but by the volume of earth moved. The repetitive motion induces a trance state. Swing, hit, pull, lift, splash, swing, hit, pull, lift, splash. My mind disconnects from my body. I am no longer a man feeling pain. I am simply a mechanism. I watch the water swirl around my waist. I see a water snake undulating near the opposite bank, graceful and indifferent to our toil. I see a kingfisher dart from a hanging branch, a flash of electric blue that is the only color in this world of brown and green. The beetle nut keeps the rhythm steady. My heart beats in time with the hoe. The city of Angkor breathes around us, inhaling water, exhaling rice, and we are the ones keeping the breath flowing. I lift another load of heavy black silt, the stench of ancient rot filling my nose, and for a moment, I do not feel the weight. I feel only the necessity. The mud must move, or the gods will starve. I swing again. The sun has moved past the zenith, but the heat has not relented. If anything, it has grown heavier, settling onto the surface of the canal like a wet wool blanket. The brief respite of the midday meal is a distant memory, washed away by the first hour of the afternoon shift. My stomach, previously full of rice and fish paste, now feels hollow again, tightened by the rhythm of the work. I stand waist deep in the brown water. The temperature of the canal is uncomfortably warm, offering no relief from the sun beating down on my bare shoulders. My skin has taken on the texture of the riverbed itself, wrinkled and pale where it is submerged, burnt and tight where it is exposed. The task remains unchanged. We are dredging the secondary feeder canal that links the Great Northern Barre to the rice paddies of the eastern sector. The empire of the Khmer is built on stone and water, but stone does not rot. Water does. The silt is the enemy. It creeps in silently, brought by the rains, clogging the arteries of the city. If we do not clear it, the rice will fail. If the rice fails, the temples starve. I grip the handle of my hoe. It is a simple tool, a shaft of polished hardwood fitted with a broad, iron-tipped blade. The wood is slick with sweat and river mud, making it difficult to hold. I have wrapped a strip of rough hemp cloth around my palms to improve the grip, but the wet fabric only chafes the skin, rubbing raw spots into the calluses at the base of my fingers. I drive the blade down. The water swallows the tool. I do not see where it lands. I feel it. The vibration travels up the shaft as the iron strikes the bottom. It is not the jarring thud of hitting stone, nor the easy slide of sand. It is the thick, sucking resistance of clay. This is the hardest soil to move. It clings. It fights back. I pull. The muscles in my lower back scream in protest. This is the danger zone of the day, the third quarter, where the body is tired enough to be careless. But the end of the shift is too far away to provide hope. I heave the hoe upward, bringing a clotted mass of gray sludge to the surface. The water instantly tries to wash it away, dissolving the edges of the clump, turning the water around me into a cloud of opaque tan. Beside me, Aaron is holding the basket. It is a wide, shallow scoop woven from split bamboo, strengthened with rattan ribs. He holds it just above the water level. With a twist of my wrists, I dump the heavy clay into the basket. The bamboo creaks under the sudden weight. Water streams through the weave, leaving only the dense muck behind. Aaron does not speak. He turns and swings the basket toward the bank. There, a chain of 3 men waits. They pass the baskets up the steep, muddy slope of the embankment to the dumping ground, where the spoil will be dried and eventually packed down to reinforce the canal walls. It is a human machine, a conveyor belt of flesh and wood. The sound of the afternoon is a drone. It is the splash of hose, the grunt of exertion, the slap of wet mud hitting the spoil pile, and the relentless, high-pitched whine of cicadas in the trees that line the upper banks. There is no conversation. Breath is too valuable to waste on words. We work in a trance. Dip, drag, lift, dump, dip, drag, lift, dump. My legs are numb from the pressure of the water. The bottom of the canal is uneven, littered with unseen hazards. Sharp stones, broken pottery shards washed down from the settlements upstream, and the jagged shells of freshwater snails. I have to curl my toes into the slime to keep my balance as I leverage the mud. Every few minutes, I feel something soft and slimy brush against my thighs. Fish, perhaps, or water snakes disturbed by our violence. I try not to think about them. The overseer stands on the bank, high above us. He is outlined against the blinding white sky, a silhouette of authority. He wears a clean white sampat and holds a parasol of oiled paper, shielding him from the sun. He does not shout often. He does not need to. His presence is enough. He holds a tally stick, marking the number of basket loads that reach the top. We are not slaves, but we are bound to this service. The king demands labor, and the water demands flow. Suddenly, my hoe strikes something solid. It is not a rock. The impact is dull, absorbing the blow rather than deflecting it. I strike again, a foot to the left. Solid. A foot to the right. Solid. I pause, wiping sweat from my eyes with a muddy forearm. The salt stings. Obstruction, I say. My voice sounds raspy, unused. Aaron stops. He looks at me, his chest heaving. He does not want an obstruction. An obstruction means the rhythm breaks. It means the work becomes harder. I probe the water with the handle of the hoe. The object is large, curved, and buried deep in the silt. Tree, I say. A sunken log. This is common. During the monsoon, great teak or dipterocarp trees fall into the rushing currents upstream and are swept down until they jam in the narrower channels. They become dams, collecting silt and debris, choking the flow. The overseer has seen us stop. He descends the bank, his sandals squelching in the mud. He does not come all the way to the water. He values his clean cloth too much. "What is it?" he calls out. "Wood," I reply, not looking up. "Deep." He gestures with his hand, a sharp, cutting motion. "Get it out." The rhythm of the line stops. The men on the bank look down, grateful for the pause, but wary of the task. Extracting a waterlogged timber is a brutal job. I wade forward, the water rising to my chest. I have to submerge myself to find the ends of the log. I take a deep breath and duck under the surface. The world turns sepia. The sound of the air is replaced by the rushing roar of my own blood in my ears and the muted rumble of the current. I keep my eyes squeezed shut. The water is too silty to see anything anyway. I feel with my hands. The wood is slimy, coated in algae, but beneath the slime, it is hard as stone. It is massive, perhaps the width of 2 men. It is wedged diagonally across the canal floor, buried 1/2 meter deep in the clay. I surface, gasping. The air feels fiercely hot after the cool darkness of the water. "Ropes," I say to Aaron. "We need the ropes." It takes time to rig the haul. 2 men run to the supply cart further down the bank and return with coils of thick, braided rattan. This is not the soft hemp used for clothing. This is tough, fibrous vine, strong enough to pull stone blocks. I have to dive again to pass the ropes underneath the log. This is the worst part of the day. I have to dig the mud out from under the timber with my bare hands, blindly clawing at the clay while holding my breath. My fingernails scrape against buried grit. The pressure in my head builds. I feel the panic of air hunger, but I force myself to dig. 1 handful, 2, 3. I shove the end of the rattan rope through the tunnel I have made. Aaron, diving on the other side, grabs it. We surface together, sputtering. We do this twice, securing the log at both ends. Now comes the brute force. The rope ends are thrown up the bank. 10 men grasp the lines. We, the dredgers, remain in the water to guide the log and push. "Heave," the overseer commands. The rope goes taut. It vibrates, shedding water droplets. The men on the bank lean back, their heels digging into the soft earth. I place my shoulder against the submerged wood. The bark is rough and scrapes my skin. "Heave." I push with my legs, driving my feet into the canal bed. The mud gives way, and I slip, swallowing a mouthful of foul water. I cough, gagging on the taste of rot and earth, but I regain my footing. "Heave." There is a sucking sound, A great wet pop as the suction of the mud is broken. The log shifts. Bubbles of trapped methane gas rise to the surface, smelling of ancient decay. Keep pulling, I shout, my voice cracking. Slowly, agonizingly, the timber rises. It breaks the surface, black and dripping, like the spine of a river monster. It is heavy, waterlogged density, making it weigh 3 times what it would on land. We guide it toward the bank, fighting the current that tries to swing it downstream. When we finally wrestle it onto the lower slope of the embankment, my limbs feel like they are filled with lead. My heart is hammering against my ribs like a trapped bird. I stand in the water, hands on my knees, trying to catch my breath. The adrenaline fades, leaving behind a profound exhaustion that settles deep in the marrow. The sun has begun its descent. The harsh white light of mid-afternoon is softening, turning a deep, hazy gold. The shadows of the trees on the western bank are stretching out, reaching across the water to touch us. We return to the dredging. The rhythm is slower now. The interruption has broken our momentum, and the fatigue is undeniable. The light on the water changes. It is no longer a flat glare, but a shimmering, dancing reflection of the sky. The heat begins to lift, just slightly, replaced by a humid heaviness. The smell of the air changes, too. The sharp scent of hot dust is overtaken by the green, vegetal smell of the cooling plants and the damp earth. I look at my hands. The water has bleached them white, and the skin on my fingertips is so pruned it looks like old parchment. There is a cut on my thumb, a slice from a sharp reed or a shell. It does not bleed. The water has washed the wound clean and pale, but it throbs with a dull, stinging pulse. The sounds of the jungle intensify as the light fails. The singular whine of the cicadas is joined by the croaking of frogs awakening in the shallows. A kingfisher, a flash of brilliant blue, darts low over the water, hunting for the evening meal. I lift another whole load of mud. My shoulders burn. The repetition is a torment. I count the loads to keep my mind focused. 104. 105. Aaron looks as tired as I feel. His movements are jerky, lacking the fluid grace he had in the morning. He spills a little mud with each transfer. I do not blame him. We are all fraying at the edges. The water level seems to have risen slightly, or perhaps I have just sunk deeper into the mud. The water laps at my ribs now. It is cooling, stealing the heat from my body. I shiver despite the warm air. It is a strange sensation to be cold in the tropics, but the water drains the life out of you slowly. I focus on the distant temple tower rising above the tree line to the west. The sandstone pinnacle glows pink and orange in the setting sun. It is beautiful, a mountain of stone built for the gods. I wonder If the gods know the weight of the mud, we move to keep their reflection clear in the barre. A sound cuts through the haze of fatigue. A deep, resonant boom. It is the drum from the overseer's station, signaling the end of the work period. The sound hangs in the heavy air. All along the canal, the motion stops. Hose are lowered. Baskets are splashed clean in the current. There is no cheering. We are too tired for that. There is only a collective exhale, a release of tension that runs down the length of the line. I wade toward the bank. The transition from water to land is difficult. My legs feel heavy, like tree trunks, as gravity reasserts its full hold on me. I drag myself up the slippery mud of the slope, my feet sinking deep with every step. On the flat ground of the bank, I drop my hoe. I stand straight for the first time in hours. My spine cracks audibly. I stretch my arms overhead, feeling the tight muscles of my back seize, and then release. The first task is the check. I look down at my legs. They are coated in gray slime, but beneath the mud, I see the dark, swollen shapes. Leeches. There are 3 on my left calf, 2 on my right thigh. They are fat, gorged on my blood. I sit on the grass, ignoring the ants, and begin the ritual of removal. I do not pull them. That leaves the head in the skin and causes festering sores. I use a fingernail to break the seal of their mouth, flicking them away into the grass. The bite marks bleed freely, small trickles of red mixing with the gray mud on my skin. It is a minor annoyance, a tax paid to the water. Aaron sits beside me. He has a small gourd of water and offers it to me. It is warm and tastes of the gourd, but it is sweet relief. Hard day, he says. I nod, wiping my mouth with the back of my hand. The log. He grunts in agreement. Big bastard. We sit for a moment, watching the sun finally dip below the horizon. The sky is a bruise of purple and red. The canal, which was our tormentor all day, now looks peaceful, a ribbon of dark glass reflecting the dying light. Other men are gathering their tools, scraping the worst of the clay off the blades with stones. There is a low murmur of conversation now. The silence of the work is replaced by the quiet commiseration of survival. Someone makes a joke about the overseer's clean sandpot. A soft ripple of laughter moves through the group. We are dirty, bleeding, and exhausted. My hands are raw, my back is knotted, and my skin itches from the drying mud. But the canal flows. The water is moving north, toward the rice, toward the city. I stand up and pick up my hoe. The handle feels familiar, almost a part of my hand. Rice tonight, Aaron asks as we begin the walk back to the workers' camp. Fish too, I hope, I reply. We walk along the top of the embankment. The air is thick, with the smoke of cooking fires rising from the village ahead. The smell of wood smoke and grilling fish makes my stomach cramp with hunger. The long drag is over. The night belongs to us. The sun has finally begun its descent, hanging like a heavy, hammered copper disc above the western tree line. The relentless white heat of midday has softened into a hazy gold that clings to the humid air. My shoulders throb with a dull, rhythmic ache, a sensation so familiar it feels less like pain and more like the natural state of my existence. I stand waist deep in the brown sludge of the canal, my hands gripping the polished wood of the dredging basket. The overseer stands on the high bank. He does not shout. He simply raises a hand, his silhouette stark against the brightening sky, and brings it down in a chopping motion. Work is done. The tension in the trench evaporates. Around me, 50 other men straighten their spines. We do not cheer. We do not speak much. There is only the collective exhalation of breath, a sound like the wind shifting through the sugar palms. I wade toward the embankment, the mud sucking at my calves, with every step, reluctant to let me go. It is heavy, viscous clay, rich with the rot of leaves and the silt of the great river, the very substance that makes the Khmer Empire breathe. Yet it feels like lead weights bound to my skin. I heave the basket up onto the grass first, then haul myself up the slippery slope. The air up here is slightly cooler, moving with a faint breeze that carries the scent of wood smoke and wet buffalo. I scrape the worst of the clay from my legs, using a flat piece of wood I keep tucked in my waistband for this exact purpose. The mud flakes off in wet, heavy slabs, revealing skin that is wrinkled and pale from hours of submersion. I pick up my hoe and my basket. These are not my tools. They belong to the district chief, and they must be accounted for. We walk in a loose file toward the storage shed, a simple structure of timber and thatch located 300 paces down the service road. The ground beneath my feet is hard-packed laterite, a distinct red iron-rich earth that stains the soles of feet and the hems of garments. The tallyman sits on a woven mat, a slate board on his lap. I place my tools in the pile. He marks a line next to my name. This mark is my livelihood. It ensures I receive my rice allotment at the end of the lunar cycle. I bow my head slightly, not out of servitude, but out of the necessity of keeping the transaction smooth. Now I am free. The walk home is a journey between worlds. I leave the rigid geometry of the canals and the reservoirs, the massive hydraulic engineering that defines the city of Yasidharapura, and enter the organic sprawl of the residential quarters. The capital is a city of wood and water, hidden beneath the canopy of trees. The road is crowded. Even at this hour, the pulse of the city is strong. I step to the side to let an ox cart pass. The wooden wheels groan against the axle, a high-pitched friction that sets my teeth on edge. The cart is piled high with sandstone blocks, likely destined for the new temple construction to the north. The oxen, massive beasts with white coats and lyre-shaped horns, keep their heads low, their breath steaming in the cooling air. I walk past the neighborhood of the weavers. The rhythmic clacking of looms has ceased for the day, replaced by the sound of women calling to their children and the clatter of clay pots. The air here smells of indigo dye and raw silk, a sharp, metallic tang that cuts through the humidity. Further on, I pass a small neighborhood shrine, a spirit house perched on a single wooden post, adorned with marigolds and jasmine. A stick of incense burns there, sending a thin, unwavering line of gray smoke toward the heavens. I pause for a heartbeat and press my palms together at my chest. I offer a silent acknowledgement to the Nikta, the spirit of the land. I do not ask for wealth or glory. I ask only that the earth remains stable, that the waters flow where they should, and that the fever stays away from my house. My village is a cluster of stilt houses huddled near a secondary stream, a tributary that feeds into the Great Lake to the south. The houses are built high on timber piles, raising us 6 feet above the ground. This is the architecture of survival. It protects us from the floods of the rainy season and the snakes and scorpions that hunt in the night. The space beneath my house is dark and smells of livestock. Our pig, a bristly black sow, grunts from her pen as I approach. I check the water level in the clay jar at the foot of the ladder. It is nearly full. My wife, Esre, has fetched water from the well. I cannot go up yet. The mud of the canal is a spiritual impurity as much as a physical one. I walk to the stream behind the house. The water here is moving, carrying away the debris of the day. I strip off my loincloth, the rough cotton heavy with sweat and dirt. I wade into the water. It is tepid, but it feels clean. I scrub my skin with a handful of rough river sand, scouring away the dried clay, the dead skin, and the smell of the swamp. I dunk my head, holding my breath, letting the water muffle the sounds of the world. For a moment, suspended in the dark current, I am weightless. When I emerge, I wrap a dry krama around my waist. This cloth is checked in red and white, the universal fabric of our people. I wring out my work clothes and hang them on a bamboo rail to dry in the night air. I climb the ladder to my home. The rungs are polished smooth by years of bare feet. Inside, the house is a single large room, partitioned only by woven mats and the varying heights of the bamboo floor. The main living area is raised slightly higher than the kitchen area. The floor beneath my feet is resilient. The split bamboo slats have a natural spring to them, allowing air to circulate from below, keeping the house cool. The interior is dim, lit only by the orange glow of the hearth fire in the corner. The smoke rises to the blackened thatch of the roof, where it seeps out through the eaves. This smoke is intentional. It is the only barrier we have against the mosquitoes that rise in clouds from the standing water as soon as the sun vanishes. Esray is kneeling by the hearth. She looks up and smiles, her teeth stained dark from betel nut. She does not stop her work. She is fanning the charcoal, nursing the heat under a round clay pot. The smell of the meal hits me, and my stomach contracts with sudden, violent hunger. It is the smell of home. Steaming rice, the nutty aroma of the grain filling the small space. But cutting through the bland sweetness of the rice is the sharp, pungent funk of prahok. The fermented fish paste is roasting in a banana leaf, releasing a savory, salty intensity that waters the mouth. My 2 children are sitting near the doorway, catching the last of the daylight to mend a fishing net. My son, 10 years old, mimics my movements as I sit down on the mat. My daughter, younger, brings me a hollowed coconut shell filled with water. I drink it in one long draught. It tastes of smoke and earth. We do not have a table. We eat on the floor, sitting in a circle. Esray brings the pot of rice and the condiments. Tonight we are fortunate, along with the roasted prahok and a basket of fresh herbs, mint, basil, and water, lily stems. There is a grilled snakehead fish. The skin is charred and crispy, the flesh beneath white and flaky. I take a handful of sticky rice from the basket. It is hot, burning my fingertips slightly. I knead it into a dense ball in my right palm, pressing it until it is firm. I dip the ball into the prahok, coating it in the gray-brown paste, and then add a piece of the white fish and a sprig of mint. I place the food in my mouth. The flavors explode. The saltiness of the fish paste replenishes the salt I lost sweating in the sun. The herbs provide a sharp, green crunch. The rice provides the substance, the fuel that will power my muscles for another day of labor. We eat in relative silence. In our culture, the meal is a serious affair. We honor the rice by consuming it with focus. The only sounds are the crackling of the fire and the rising chorus of the night outside. The cicadas have started their shrill, mechanical buzzing, a sound so constant it becomes part of the silence. Frogs call from the paddies, a chaotic symphony of croaks and bellows. When the rice basket is empty, the mood shifts. The tension of survival relaxes. Esray clears away the pots, wiping the floor with a damp cloth. I move to the section of the floor that opens onto the veranda. I reach for my beetle set. It is a humble kit, a small woven box containing the ingredients. I take a green beetle leaf, fresh and waxy. I spread a thin layer of white lime paste on it. Then I shave a few slivers of areca nut onto the lime. I roll the leaf into a tight cylinder and place it in my cheek. I chew slowly. The bitter, astringent juice floods my mouth, stimulating the saliva. A mild warmth spreads through my head, a gentle buzzing that smooths out the rough edges of the day. It numbs the ache in my shoulders and brings a sense of alert calm. My son moves closer to me. He asks about the canal. He wants to know if we saw the great barge of the king today. I tell him no, not today. I tell him about the depth of the silt, about how the water is flowing faster now, that we have cleared the blockage near the northern sluice gate. I speak to him of the water not as an enemy, but as a living thing that must be guided, respected, and understood. He listens, his eyes reflecting the dying embers of the fire. He will likely hold a hoe in his hands one day, just as I do. It is the way of things. Esray joins us, her work done. She sits with her legs tucked beneath her, her posture graceful even in repose. We talk of small things, the price of cotton cloth at the market, the rumor that the temple priests are planning a great festival for the harvest, the leak in the thatch that needs repairing before the monsoon arrives in earnest. We do not stay up late. Oil is expensive, and the resin torches burn quickly. The darkness of the Angkorian night is absolute. Outside the circle of our small fire, the world belongs to the spirits and the beasts. I stand and stretch, my spine cracking audibly. It is time to secure the house. I check the shutter on the single window, latching it with a wooden hook. I pull the bamboo ladder up into the house. This is the final act of the day, isolating us from the ground, turning our home into a fortress on stilts. We prepare the sleeping area. We do not have beds. We sleep on woven reed mats rolled out across the bamboo floor. Esray unrolls them. They are cool and smooth against the skin. We hang a cotton cloth from the rafters, creating a small tent over the mats to deter the insects that the smoke misses. I lie down. The pillow is a hard, rectangular block of wood, polished by use. It supports the neck, keeping the head elevated and cool. To a stranger, it might seem like torture, but to me, it is comfort. It aligns the spine. The house is dark now, save for the faint red glow of the charcoal buried deep in the ash of the hearth, kept alive to start the fire tomorrow morning. I lie on my back, listening to the night. The sounds are different now. The domestic noises of the village have faded, replaced by the wilder sounds of the jungle that presses against the city limits. A gecko calls out from the thatched roof above me, 7 distinct croaks, a sign of good luck. My wife's breathing evens out beside me. My children are already asleep, their small forms still under the cotton sheet. I close my eyes, but my body still feels the phantom motion of the work. I feel the sway of the water, the resistance of the mud, the repetitive swing of the hoe. My hands, resting on my chest, are calloused and hard, shaped permanently by the tools I wield. I think of the water flowing through the canals I cleared today. I imagine it traveling from the great reservoirs, through the stone sluices, down the earthen trenches, and into the rice paddies. I imagine the green stalks drinking it in. That water is life, and I am the one who keeps it moving. The thought is a small anchor in the drift of sleep. The ache in my muscles transforms into a heavy warmth. The sound of the frogs merges with the rhythm of my own heart. The boundary between my body and the bamboo floor dissolves. The darkness takes me completely. There are no dreams of gold or temples or kings. There is only the deep, restorative blackness, the silent preparation for the sun that will rise again in a few short hours, demanding everything I have once more.